Hey, Andrew.
Hi, sorry, I was on mute. Can you speak again, please?
Yeah, I can speak again. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yep, yep.
Cool. Oh.
It's pretty much the same as WebEx. I'm not sure why it said it was the session's recorded. Maybe that's just an advance notice and Carolyn starts the recording. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see the record button being pressed yet, but can you hear me okay? Is my volume
yeah.
right?
No, it's fine. Because the record button says record on this computer, which suggests most people can do their own recording. Which is good, because then you could just record the session and then you've got a local copy of the recording without having to go back through Caroline each time.
That's cool. If the recording is local, that's good.
Yeah.
Is that what happens when you hit record, is it?
Yeah, I guess so, based on the prompt. Oh no, you have to request permission from the host.
Okay.
Did you see the message from George?
Here she is. I did see the message from George, yes. That's cool.
Hi guys.
Hey Carolyn.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're good. We're good. I think we enjoyed our month and a bit off, didn't we, Andrew?
No.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. I think we're all good though. How have you found Zoom so far, Carolyn?
It's pretty good. It's super functional. So I just made you guys both co-hosts, and I'll make George one too when he gets here. And it automatically records, so we don't even have to do anything. And once the meeting is over in a couple hours, I'll get the recording and the participant oh my God, I'm totally blanking. Participant report, and I'll send that over to you guys as well. It's pretty easy. It's really, intuitive and nice.
Do you have any idea on registrations, Carolyn? Because we've kind of been away for a while, so. Right. I'm going to try and present shortly.
I'll keep an eye on background noise, Brian, as well, and mute people.
Cool.
Sometimes
if you've got the ability for that, then that's grand.
$82 people registered.
That's good.
That's good, yeah. Right, just wait to give this a share. Let me know.
Yeah, I can see your desktop.
You got my
yeah, PowerPoint.
My E9 now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, I'll stop presenting now then, and just want to check. Looks like Sean arriving now as well.
It's London night.
I tried to do my background, but I realised that you can only do it with a green screen on Zoom. So
oh no, it's not great. I was going to do the same in mine.
So I had to tidy up the spare room a little bit, considering I couldn't blur or.
I got a pull-up stand made for my room, for occasions like this, but it's in the garage. But it's not that expensive actually if you want to do one for Dataglow, because it's about £20 for the stand. It's dirt cheap, and you can always take it to conferences and things as well. Hi Sean, are you on? I think you're currently muted. He's dropped.
And off again. Well, hopefully there'll be more than the three of us anyway. That's the hope. You know, I'm going to go and get a quick drink before we start. I'll be back shortly.
Okay.
Hello, I'm back. Hi.
Hey Brian, Sean's on, I think. Yes, he is.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey Sean, good to see you.
Hi.
Hey Brian, happy Friday.
Yes, very happy Friday.
How's
It's good to be back in the chair after a month off, proverbially speaking. So.
Yeah.
The
Good to have you
sunflowers.
back. Do you like the sunflowers?
Are they plastic or real?
Thanks, Andrew. We always count on you for the comedy. They are actually very real. It's because summer has officially ended down here, and I thought I needed something to kind of keep it going for a while. So the sun is always with us in the house at the moment. Awestruck by the sunflowers. Oh dear. So how's everything going? All good?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wear my special
Carolyn
t-shirt
said
today.
we've got 82 registrations for this.
Fantastic.
So it'll be good if we get 50% plus. That's normal.
Yeah, we'll give people a bit of leeway today since we're on Zoom for the first time, and I'm expecting more than 7. So
yeah. Well, it's all
that
about
would be a massive strikeout for us compared to our previous episodes if we only hit 7. So
yeah, well, it is what it is, isn't it? And it's all about quality, isn't it? And you know, you want people to be there because they want to be there. So Yeah. Fine.
We're really pleased with the quality of people that we've been able to bring so far, and we're not done yet either. So our list is still quite long after this one. So we're happy. We're happy. We've had a good run over lockdowns.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good, good going, and yeah, well done for doing it. Really, it's you've got to adapt and change in the world, isn't it? So clearly you're doing that. So it's brilliant.
Yeah, we still miss the pizza and the beer.
Yeah, one day.
But we have the dogs, though.
Yeah, is that a real dog? It's not a real dog. You can't just hold the dog up like that, can you?
It's not a real dog, no.
Do you want to see a real one?
My real dog is barking downstairs. I've decided to leave him down there, though.
Come here. Yeah, it's a bit early. He's a bit keen though, my little fella. He's keen to say hello. You say hello? Who's that on there? Look. Say to Andrew and Brian. Say hello. Speak. Speak. No, speak. Good boy. And again, speak. He just loves doing it. Problem is, he's just always centre of attention. I don't get a look in these days, so it's a problem. We're going to fall out over it for sure. Sit. Sit.
Hi, Patrick. I saw you joined the call. Your fellow presenter Patrick should be on. Yep.
Hi, Patrick.
Can you hear us okay?
I can't hear him.
I think Patrick's on mute or some variant thereof.
I had a problem. I had to leave again. So I left and came back in, and the audio sorted itself out. No idea why.
Hi, Patrick.
No, you're still on silent for us, Patrick. So.
Yeah, I don't think you're muted, Patrick. You might want to just adjust volume, speaker, or microphone.
So we can see people starting to arrive now. We usually go for about a 5 past start. We might just let it go a little bit today because we're on Zoom for the first time. So we'll give people a chance to get used to their new surroundings, as it were. I'm sure everyone has been using Zoom exponentially more over lockdown, but we'll give people a little bit longer anyway.
Yeah.
I'm checking now if I have sound.
Yes, we got you, Patrick. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Good stuff.
Trying to work out you in the loft, are you, Brian?
No, this is our spare room / everything else room. This is where all the stuff goes. It's been cleared a little bit for the purposes of this Zoom meeting. I found out I needed a green screen background to make any of the virtual backgrounds work just before I came on the call. So.
Yeah, no problem, aren't they? Yeah.
The problem is if I have it anywhere else in the house, I might run into children or other people or dogs or cats that might decide to interrupt things as we go. So not all of them are compliant as yours, Sean. So
no, he's got his limits. He will get a bit ruly, so we might have a bit of a tussle at some point. But and it's I always remember the scene from that guy that was giving the interview when his wife dragged the baby and the walker came in, and the wife pulled the baby back and pulled him out of the room. You remember that guy that was doing that interview? It was hilarious. I thought, welcome to online, Zoom and at home, working from home, and all the rest of it. Hilarious.
I know. It's happy days.
Yeah, happy days indeed.
Is he full size now? Is that him? Full size dog. He's not a puppy in terms of size.
He's a proper dog now. Yeah, he's not going to grow anymore. No, he said. You asked for a bit of light-hearted Friday, so.
I see more people are dropping in. We'll give it another 5 minutes or so. I see people dropping in, so I think we're all still getting used to Zoom again for QVMS anyway. So we'll give it a few more minutes. No, it's been a very relaxing time away. I think we were finding as our work schedule started to return a little bit more to normal after lockdown that our QVMS schedule we needed a break. We all needed holidays now that we could finally take them, and hopefully we'll come back even stronger. Oh, maybe not George. George might not appear, may or may not appear. So we've had a message from him already. So Andrew and I are here to run the show just now.
Just got a wasp in the room. And many people leave to go and sort the wasps out in the room when you're doing that. So
I'm sure it happens. Yeah,
it's happening now. The live stream of the wasp being removed. It's all quite aggressive one as well. There's just so many at the moment. You're going to see my legs in a minute, guys. So hold on.
Video off.
I know. You never thought you'd get a filler like this, did you? Someone reaching up to a skylight to let a wasp back. It's what makes us all human, though, isn't it?
Exactly.
How the whole world works, you know. We all pretend, can't we, that we're not human, but we are really.
Yeah, I was on another Qlik Industry WebEx several weeks ago, and my cat decided to climb off his. He'd made a bed just back there somewhere, and he decided to climb into view and over top of me. So.
Oh really?
We all need our little pet adventures, I would say.
Yeah. I could do about the wasp ones. So they're just can't. I know they play an important part of the ecosystem, but I just wish they weren't a part of my ecosystem. I think
it's the sunflowers.
They can stay. Yeah, they're attracted in, aren't they? Yeah. There might be bees that are attracted to things like that, though, Andrew.
Right, folks. Thank you for everyone who's arriving. We'll just give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll get going. I think we're almost good. How are things with you, Patrick? Are you okay?
Not bad. I think I've got the audio to work at least. Oh.
Yes. That's a win already. Getting the tech to work. That's the big breakthrough at the beginning of any Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I don't know what Zoom uses. It's some kind of random pick from the input devices. It could be anything.
Yeah. I know how to really confuse it, and that's how to plug in your USB camera when you've already got a camera on your laptop, and then it just goes crazy while it's deciding what to use. So
I think it's also keeping it working as well, not just getting it working, it's keeping it working throughout, isn't it?
Exactly.
There's the first question for you, Sean, from David in the chat.
Okay, what's the question?
Your Sean says Sean's PA wants some tea or a biscuit.
Okay, that's looking after the well-being of the presenting duo. There you go, buddy. He just for clarity, he didn't actually lick the cup. Okay, just in case you were thinking, ugh, that's horrible. How do you have someone like this on the show? But he does like tea. He does like drinking tea, believe it or not.
Okay. Hopefully, I got into slide mode now. Is that viewable now?
Yeah, that's good. Very green.
All right. Yeah, very green. Yeah, green's our thing.
Very green.
Green's our thing.
Still green. It's still green, isn't it?
Yeah. You good, Andrew?
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, hi everyone. Thanks for dropping by and spending some time on your very important Friday afternoons / mornings with us. This is Qlik Virtual Meetup Scotland, episode 9. We have been on a hiatus for, oh gosh, over a month now. Andrew, I'd like us to say that we were been on holiday completely that time, but I don't think that's true for me. I don't know about you, but I think that time was a welcome breakaway for us after packing in 8 episodes for the first 16 weeks of lockdown. So a well-deserved rest for the team and back energised today. Back energised with the Datadog Does Ideation edition. So, gosh, these titles are getting harder and harder to think of when you have limited time in your day. So apologies about the degradation of quality there. It's the 28th of August, it's 3 PM BST, and someone reminds me that it's not going to be BST for much longer, and I'll have to adapt my slides accordingly going forward. And we're on episode 9. I'm Brian Bouden, Andrew McIlwright joins me, and our third captain, George Beaton, hopefully will be along. He's been slightly delayed, so we'll see if he turns up. We are pleased to say also, if you have a look down here, we've got episode 10 registration all ready and queued up for you on Zoom. Hopefully you like the new Zoom environment provided by Qlik, so thanks very much to Qlik for that. Okay, so off we go. What have we got for you today? Well, I said that we came back with renewed vigour, and I think that comes through with our guests for episode 9 as well, I have to say, based on what we've seen. So we've got 2 great guests for you today. First of all, we've got Patric Nordström from Qlik. I've known Patric a long time from hackathon days at Connections, wearing red t-shirts, and from a previous life in the world of maps and IDVO. Patric's now dealing with a lot of the ideation ideas that are going on, ironically, at Qlik. So we've got Patric here to talk about how that process is coming along, and some of the more public-facing parts of that, I think, Patric, that you're going to be able to show us too, which is great. And if Patric doesn't clear anything up for you, then you'll have a chance to grill him after that, which is one of my favourite parts, because I get to sit back and hand it all over to Andrew and go and relax for a bit. So. So that'll be fun. Keynote number 2, we've got Sean Price. Sean, sorry, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I've been calling you the data juggernaut based on the bio that you sent me. So if you start being called juggernaut, it's probably my fault, even if it's just a part of your bio, right? But
not sure what to think about that, Brian. Actually,
well, I think we'll have a better evaluation at the end of the section, Sean, won't we? So,
yeah, no, I'm certainly not a juggernaut, but I'm talking about data-driven cultures today, Brian. So
there we go.
It's part of that, yeah.
Fantastic.
So kind.
The dog is sitting very nicely there as well, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about that too. So.
Yeah, he'll say hello.
Sean will then be open for questions, and then we'll give you a wee shout about our next meetup. And as usual, we've lined up. We had a bit of a hiccup the last time around getting our guests on order in time, but we are queued up for the next month or so with our guests. So we're very pleased to have that all sorted out as well. So it should be a really good episode. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll make this one quick. Most of you know who we are. We've been running Qlik Virtual Meetup Scotland for well, a long time now, since the beginning of lockdown, so that probably puts us in an area of 4 or 5 months. I'm Brian Bouden. You probably know me if you know about the Qlik Luminary programme. I've been here for a while. You see George there in the middle. George will virtually say hello from his picture right now, because he's just taken he's taken a bit of time to do some other stuff at the moment, so hopefully he'll pop up later in the show, and we'll let him say hello if he does, if you're lucky. And I'll pass over to Andrew to say hello as well and just introduce himself.
Okay, thanks Brian. So I'm Andrew McIlwright. I work in Glasgow, service delivery manager for Differential Consulting here in the UK. This is my 2nd year as a Qlik Luminary. And obviously I've met Brian and George many times in person. I've met Sean in person as well, and the dog. I haven't met Patric, but obviously I've communicated with Patric a lot in Qlik Community and see all the work that's been taking place in Qlik. So can't wait to find out more about that as well. So yep, looking forward to this.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Sounds good, and really great job getting all our guests lined up as well. I'm very pleased with my colleagues. They're doing a brilliant job, and we couldn't do it without each other. So great stuff. So episode 8. Episode 8 seems like a while ago. In reality, it was about a month ago. and we had two fantastic guests as well. Quite contrasting topics, I would say. Joe Warbington really living in the fantasy world of what, in the best possible way, of what Qlik can do with your data. Some of the demos that he gave were literally mind blowing. If you ever wanted to be Iron Man while you're using your BI tool, then Joe shows you the way how to do that. Some incredible stuff, and obviously some big tie-ins with VizLib, and a lot of experience brought from a lot of different industries, including the healthcare industry. So always great to have Joe, very entertaining, and his little replicant, his Get to Qlik replicant little son arrived as well, which was great. We had Alex Polorotov showing us Get to Qlik, which is a pretty amazing Qlik Sense source control solution. Also, if you've kept your eyes on LinkedIn over the last few days, you will have seen that Alex and the team have rolled out another pretty major update to Get to Qlik to deal with sort of dev, test and prod environments and roll out your updates across the various environments. So really recommend going and checking out the last episode if you didn't catch up with Alex and Joe. They were star presenters, and we've got the link there. It's QVMS, QVMS 8 EP8 rec. Hopefully I get all my links and dates right today. Not a given, but yes. So Patrick, this photo's for you. I think that a long time ago, gosh, I think this was in Dallas actually. It might have been my first connections, maybe the second one. And Patrick and I teamed on the hackathon as Idevio. And I think it's fair to say that we did not come in the top end of performers. I think a team of like Torben Seebach and Ralph Baker, Mathieu Burel were sort of screamed past us to first place. It was very close, but anyway, we'll move on. So he's an Idevio legend, and he knows all about the maps side of Qlik, and I guess that was his entry point into Qlik. And he's now a product manager there, and I've just monikered you the master of ideation, Patrick. So I hope that's not too much of a big up, but I thought it was a worthy way to lead into you. So I'd love to pass over to you now to see what you're going to show us about the world of ideation in Qlik.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. That was quite an introduction.
I tried to make it as entertaining as possible. Right. Do I have to make you the presenter here?
No, I think now I'd be possible to share. Let's tell me if you can see my screen.
We're all good. We're all good.
Perfect. Yeah. The hackathon is always great to be on at Connections. Hopefully we're gonna do that again sometimes. It feels like virtual is one thing, but it would be nice to go somewhere in some time. So for those who don't know me, I'm the product manager for Qlik Sense visualizations and Qlik Analytics. I came aboard with Qlik in 2017 with the acquisition of Idevio, which formed the basis for the product Qlik Analytics. Since then, lots of things have happened in the product. We evolved, we bought companies, more companies. The analytics visualization features are now inside of the map chart. The calculations are still in the connector, or for those who are running SAS, they are in geo operations. I wanted to, just like Brian said, it was a request that I should talk a bit about the ideation process, which I will. I can't help myself. I want to talk about the recent improvements in visualizations. And I also want to talk a bit to the September 2020 release. I hope maybe all of you or some of you have already looked at the tech preview, but I want to highlight a couple of things that we managed to squeeze out during the summer times. So we have done a lot of investments to enhance the charts and visualizations over the last 10 milestones. I think more than 100 different improvements have been done. And we've focused then on 3 major areas, more charts, like the Sankey chart, org chart, funnel chart, bullet chart, etc. But also more functionality inside of the charts, as you might have seen the trend lines, the accumulation modifier, and all the other modifiers, custom tooltips, spark lines, etc. But we also added additional settings for customization. We We recognized that many of you have expressed the need to be able to tweak Qlik Sense in a way that you see fit in order to build perhaps more guided applications. So we had added styling properties such as background color, font color, size, etc. And we hope to continue to do that. Now, I'm only one of many product managers, and visualizations is, of course, and especially maps are, of course, the most important part of Sense, but there are many other parts as well. So it might not be possible for me to continue on my winning streak to be able to squeeze in this many features. So as of now, since I got the opportunity to be part of this, we've done 145 features, 112 if I count the cross features only once. And we actually squeezed out quite a few for the September release as well. Of course, you follow all the news about the new releases. I have an app. I need to have an app to keep track on where which feature was released in what way. So it's lots of things to take care of. So we have the product innovation blog, which Toralo makes a new video for every release. We have the release notes inside the documentation, and we also have an app for the What's New app. I contribute to that one. So please don't forget to tell your customers and indulge yourself in all the new features. So before I dive into the ideation process, I want to share just what the things we have put in the September release. So the first one is that we have made improvements to the reference lines. We now have support for dimension-based reference lines or vertical reference lines. Like if you want to put in some kind of annotation on the chart where this is the launch of product A, this is the launch of product B, to fill in on a time series. That is possible. You can do that on a continuous axis, but also on a discrete axis. And you can put, for discrete axis, you can decide whether it should be on top, below, or underneath. And there is some formatting options you have on the reference lines as well. There used to be no settings at all, but now you have expression-based labels, which is nice if you want to do multilingual apps. You have show conditions on all the reference lines, and you can decide whether you want to have the value or the label or both at the same time. And you can decide whether the line type should be dashed or colored or solid, and you can also have a color background. In the Analytics package, there is an extension called the Qlik Analytics Animator. We moved that one and added some features to it, so it's now part of the dashboard bundle. The animator makes automatic selections in a dimension that you see fit. So I pick a dimension, and then I set up the options. I should pick a new value every half second. And I can decide whether this selection should be an aggregated selection or not, or just pick each value. You can also set a custom sort that is previously not possible. So if you're not happy with the load order, you could always set up an own custom sorting. So it's useful for, especially when you have some kind of time series to play up. So this animation is like a race chart. I think this type of bar chart is called. So it iterates over the number of days, and it highlights the top customers after a certain amount of days. And you can also use it with, of course, the animator is just making changes to the selection, and because all the charts are subscribing to changes in the selection, it gives you this animation effect. I also bundled a lot of other improvements together in one slide. You have number formatting on master measures, something that many people ask for. So if you have a measure, you can also set it up to have a default number formatting. And if you are using that that type of master measure, you can override it or use the inherited formatting. We have added an option to toggle the borders in the container if you want to have a more sleek look, no border at all. We added frequency count and relative frequency to the filter pane. For those of you who used Qlik View in the good old days, you remember this one. I haven't got a demo of it, but we added custom sorting of the dimension values in the Sankey chart. If you want to have a specific sorting. Right now, the default sorting is to make the lines cross each other like a best fit for the placement. We added a opacity slider to the WMS layer. Especially nice if you have several WMS geo servers that produce some kind of values and you want to blend them together. And of course, we also made it possible to toggle the hover icons. So the maximize and the more icon is now possible to tweak either per chart. So under general, disable the hover menu, or you can decide to switch them off completely on your app. Disable the hover menu for visualizations. We also made some improvements to the dynamic views. So they are now using session apps in the background that cut approximately 1 to 2 seconds in the rendering time for dynamic views, for those of you who use that. Go back to my slides. So if you have any questions on the September release, you can either, you can put them in the chat window and I can take them as I go along. Otherwise, I shift to the ideation process. So the ideation process is something, it's nothing new at Qlik. It's something we used to have, but it was an internal process. It was very elaborate. We collected thousands of improvements requests from customers through pre-sales and salespeople. And we used this, also connected it to customers and tracking. We use this to be able to set priorities. Now, for the visualization roadmap, I have a number of different sources, and the customer input and ideation is one of these sources. So there's many who wants to have a say on what we should develop next. We have the strategic direction from top management, what we aim to invest for in the future, what kind of new functionality like the the inside advisor, for instance, or the AI parts of Qlik Sense. We have a research department headed by Elif Tutuk, who come up with a number of new exciting things every month. We also have internal development ideas from all the architects inside of the development department at Qlik. And we also have input from product design on how to make the product better. For customer feedback, the community ideas is one source, but I also spend a lot of time in meetings directly with customers. I also help out with sales, and I meet the customers in the sales process, but also existing customers when I work a lot with customer success. If you, I have some links to that in the end. In many cases where we find a feature gap in the product, we always try to see if we can come up with a workaround or something that we can use in the interim, or something that could use to create, perhaps to solve the problem in a different way. I started an initiative to gather all those tips in an app that I publish maybe two times a year. I have 5 of them right now, both for Qlik Sense visualizations and geoanalytics. It's not my tips, all of them. There's many of them are from the community, where I just picked a selection of those that comes frequently up as customer questions. Also, when it comes to implementing ideas or the roadmap for Qlik Sense, there are many types of users of Qlik Sense. We have the casual users, we have business users, we have industrial users, depending on the type of application that people have made. And their needs varies a lot between if you are a self-service customer, if you are a data analyst, or perhaps if you're an app developer.
Sorry, Patric, it's Andrew. Sorry to interrupt. Somebody's pointed out there's nothing being shared. You're just sharing a picture of a boat? Is it?
Yeah, I'm talking to the direction of the road.
Okay, thanks. Okay,
so
yeah,
far.
I thought I would ask. Sorry.
So I can actually shift now, because how does this ideation process work? So we moved from an internal to an external because we want everyone to be able to participate, and we want to make this process more visible. We are trying to deliver as much as possible for as many people as possible. So we use this for backlog grooming of our features. We have records of things that we want to do, thousands of them. It's not like we don't have there's a plentiful of ideas. The trick is to find the ones that are that people will benefit the most. And we are revisiting this every milestone. This is for every release. So when an entry is made in the ideation space, when somebody writes an entry, we set a status to it. So the statuses are in 3 different main categories. It's open, delivered, and closed. So in open, the first status they are in the new category, and we get help, or we sift through all the ideas and try to assign them to a specific area. So each product manager knows which new ideas has come in his area. And the first step is to revisit the idea and make a first judgment. Is this something that is realistic? Is something that we could plan, or something we could use in the product? Is this something that we think that many people will have a need for? So in most cases, we set the idea to the next day in status, which is collecting feedback. We rely lots on the number of views of the idea, the number of comments, the number of likes, to be able to sort the ideas by popularity. If we have an idea that we already know that we will schedule, or we have already scheduled, I can set that to on the roadmap. But if I set it to on the roadmap status, then I need to have a time schedule. I need to know which release it's actually will make it to. And normally the horizon for my ideas, or for all the features we have, are sometimes 2 releases, sometimes just 1 release. So it's we are not allowed to set it into a roadmap unless we definitely know that this is something that most likely is coming. If I know that development already started and we're going to have it in the next release, I set it to in development. So many people have asked whether what's happening to my idea. It's only in collecting feedback, but that's actually a good status to be, because then it's not been rejected, but it's still hasn't been budgeted or set into motion. Next step is when we deliver something, it either can be delivered or delivered partially. It might not be that we decide to implement the idea in completely. Sometimes we close ideas because they are already implemented, or there's a different way to solve the same problem. Sometimes there are ideas that are not realistic or doesn't fit with the strategic planning for the product, and then we set them to declined. So Brian asked me also to, or Andrew asked me to line out how should we write an idea to make it as useful or have the highest chances to be implemented. And it should be a wanted feature. It should be something that many people ask for. That is my main purpose. For me, that's the main purpose of the community, that I know that there's a big interest in that specific area, and that makes it easier for me to go back and argue to get budget and time and schedule it for a release. It's of course, to make the idea could be a very much wanted feature, but it also has to be very realistic, I think. The ideal idea is something that we can implement in one milestone. There are many good things that probably takes a lot of more milestones, but there's simply just not time, or I can't allocate that much resources for that amount of time. Of course, you need to set one idea per entry. Some like to use the ideation board like a wish list. These are the top 5 things that I would like to see in Sense. But in order for the process to work, there needs to be just one entry per idea. And of course, I think for everything that you write on the community, it's nice to have a positive tone. People tend to, if I sound bitter or resentful, it's not that not that fun to take action on. But most entries are very helpful, and if I could run Qlik, I probably would implement many more of them than I'm actually done. So let me see if I have any questions. So the first question from Andrew I have, with the focus on SaaS, is it likely that many of the great ideas for Windows or even Qlik will even surface in R&D? So this is a decision made above my pay grade. I'm not in, my job is to able to gather and set the prior list for my area. The strategic decision or the strategic direction of the company, or at least for this milestone and the next, which is since we are doing 5 releases per year, just one release is quite fast. But the current direction is that we're putting a lot of focus on the cloud version. Also, the cloud version is built on our next generation of Sense. So the Kubernetes we are running ourselves, our SaaS, our cloud platform on Kubernetes. So cloud and Kubernetes is what we aim for in the future. I'm not sure if right now the things we add will be added in cloud first. There is currently a pause on the implementations of Kubernetes installations, even if we are carrying on the development on the Kubernetes version, just as there's no stop in development there for our own SaaS installation. But there will be a restart on the Kubernetes version for customers to install in the private cloud in the beginning of next year, I think. So I think that the things that we will see, new things, will end up in cloud first. But much of the things that I do are based on the same client. So if I add improvements to the reference lines, they go into all platforms. They go into the Windows version, the Kubernetes version, the cloud version, the mobile version, yeah, all of them. But there are other areas that have more dependencies, and where it's more likely that the difference between the platform are more visible. So we try to have a dialogue. Sometimes if there's something about the idea when I read it the first time that I don't understand, I try to comment as quickly as possible to have a clarification. The tech preview is one way for us to tell about new things, because the tech preview is so in the very end of the development cycle. It's maybe too late to be involved in the actual development. Yes, R&D follows an agile framework. There's the whole development process is built on Scrum. So there's milestones, and I'm not involved in that part. We have tried to separate product management from the development part. Of course, I'm part of but I don't run the resources that way. I don't allocate developers and tell them exactly how to do it. There is also a design department that designs the UI and designs the feature.
Okay, thanks for that. There's two other questions have come in, one from Angelica and one from Francesco. Francesco asked about the mobile iOS app, if there's any changes coming in for the app.
So from my perspective, the visualizations and the improvements that we've made are also in the mobile iOS client. So they are going there. If there is any specific, there's another PM, Kaiki Saniolo, for the mobile iOS client specifically. But in many cases, the things that I add to the client are for all platforms. So is there a list for open suggestions for new visualizations? So the ideation board is, or the under product insights at the Qlik community, there's a space where you can search for existing ideas, and you can see you can search for ideas in different statuses, and you can see the ones that are most liked, but they are not organized. They are somewhat labeled, but there's no list like these are the new visualizations that we are considering. It's not organized in that way. So it's built on suggestions from users and us picking up and commenting on them.
Okay, that was great, thanks. Can I ask one extra question, please, Patrick?
Sure.
Something
absolutely.
I asked for, I can't remember in which channel, I don't know if it's the preliminary one, but is it possible for the application that shows the new features to show in which platforms each of the features is available? I.e. have a list whether they're Kubernetes, SaaS, on Windows and on-prem, even desktop, because some of the recent really good features are only in SaaS, but it'd be nice to have that reference somewhere.
Yeah. I have an own app that keeps track of the features that I've released, but there is no consolidated view of the new features in that way. But it's a good idea to have something like that. It's a question that many times arises. I can pass it forward and. It would be something for the demo team, perhaps, to maintain.
Okay, thank you.
And just one from me as well, Patrick. You mentioned
Absolutely.
the ideation board a couple of times. Could you, for those that maybe haven't visited the ideation board, could you show that to us very quickly? Because
Absolutely.
I think that's a really important part of ideation that Qlik did not have until very recently. So this would be really useful, I think, for a lot of people to see.
Yeah. Hopefully my network is with me and I can.
So this is
So
what you were talking about earlier, right? That these ideas are tagged rather than you won't see the list of new visualizations here, but what you will see is whether the status of the idea as it currently stands, right?
yeah, so under product insight and ideas, you also will have the technical previews here, which you can, and under ideas there's this this space, and there's a search area, and there are some filters where you can see the different statuses of the ones. You can see your own ones. So the search and the way that this is organized is perhaps not the best one, but this is what we have to work with. We are using this web framework for the community, and it's built in there. For inside of internally at Qlik, we have an app, of course, that collects all the ideas and different statuses. So here I can have so somebody's going through all the ideas and try to roughly sort them into different categories and assign them to different product managers. So these are mine, and I've organized them in the number of views, number of likes. I think also the size of the bubble is also the number of likes. So I try to, this one is Qlik Sense folder inside of apps. It's outside of my jurisdiction. So since I do visualizations, Thomas Hopp is handling the hub. So it's not categorized correctly, but he has commented on this one and is very well aware of it. So we are using this type of view to be able to handle the incoming ideas. As you can see, number formatting for master items, it's over here. Currently, we are working on a new version of the combo chart that will have a vertical view. I don't know at this point when we will have a new combo chart, given the current direction of development right now. But there are other things on that list that I'm hope to be able to deliver during the winter and the spring. But this is where you enter your ideas. See if there's any of my ideas that I'm commenting on. Yeah, inside of I can also to that specific idea. So I placed this one under roadmap because I know it's at least at the time when I shifted the status, I knew when it was to be delivered. But now I don't have a solid estimated time of arrival. But I'm also making comments first half of 2020. It's always hard to make predictions. Hopefully during 2020, yeah. That's the hardest part, the time passes.
Yeah, everybody wants it's like normal work. The managers want things instantly, or they want it yesterday.
Yeah, it's also when you schedule something, there's no guarantee that you actually will have it by, even if we have a plan that it should be delivered at some point, things and priorities might change. So that's why I always need to have this type of footnote that things might change and things may change outside of my knowledge at that time. But we try to have a kind of a dialogue with those who are asking for new features and trying to come up with ask for more information if needed.
Okay. You mind if I ask you my last questions on Nebula? Can you give us an update on the status of the Nebula project, and also when will some of the more of the objects appear in GitHub as open source objects?
So yeah, so Nebula is handled by another PM. That's Jeff Goldberg, that handles the API. I have some knowledge of Nebula, since many of the new shards that we are adding are being added. You might have seen that we have revisited and rewritten the pie chart, the bar chart, the line chart, the KPI chart. We are now working on the combo chart, and we are trying at the same time lose the dependencies to other frameworks, and also bundle them so they could be able in Nebula. But I think the KPI object and the combo chart is the next one in line to be able to be added to the Nebula framework. It's a process where we are revisiting old charts, and I think after that one will probably be the scatter chart that we are doing. I would like to rewrite the pivot table and the table, but they are massive, and it might not be possible for me to allocate that much resources to be able to rewrite them. There might be other, at least at this point. But our intention is to rewrite all of the charts, so they will all be part of Nebula.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, Brian, if you want to wind up for Patric. Thanks for that, Patric.
Yeah, I mean, I think just on a final point there, Patric, I would say that almost as important as the ideation process itself is the visibility of the ideation process. So that's why I really wanted you to show that community forum, because it's something that's been missing for a while. And I think a lot of people understand that you can't implement everything. But if they can at least see that the ideas are being considered and what stage they're at, I think that helps. But a lot when you're dealing with customers and partners. So I think it's a very good step forward in terms of communicating with the wider Qlik community about what Qlik's very general direction is with technology, especially as it seems to be veering more towards SaaS as things move forward.
Yeah, and since we moved to a public forum, we want to have a more. That is one of the criticisms we had in the past, that the dialogue with the users is not enough, even if we communicate a lot directly to more larger customers. But we also want to have a dialogue here, and I hope you have seen that in the last 10 releases, that many of the things have been on request, and many of the items that people have asked for, we actually implemented, like only one selected, default bookmarks, spark lines, trend lines. All of that is very much driven by user suggestions and user feedback. And of course, in next step, when the September release is out, I will of course go in and update the ideas that were pending development, to tell that it's actually been implemented.
Good stuff.
Okay,
Yep.
that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patric. That was
Thanks a lot.
That was a really important view of a couple of different topics with us. You mentioned Taralo's name earlier in your presentation there, and he's done really well showing us the kind of hidden depths of the previous releases. So it was great to get a little bit of an overview of September, although I appreciate it's very early days there as well. So that was all very useful. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to grab the screen back just for a second. So let's see if I can get my my Zoom in order. Okay. Here we go. So Patrick successfully negotiated his Q&A. Well done, Patrick. Great job. So I'm just going to briefly introduce Sean here. I'm actually going to throw it over to Andrew a little bit. So what do I know about Sean? I've not really met Sean properly, so I'm going to pass this over to Andrew. But Datadog owner, I know that for sure. I've seen the dog. Public service champion. Well, I do know a bit about Sean's past and the fact that he's done some very big projects in the public eye. And I believe he does have a bit of an inspirational journey to tell us about today. So I kind of pop it over to Andrew, who knows Sean a bit better, I think.
Okay. Thanks. Unexpected, but yeah, obviously I've met Sean in person. He's presented at one of the differential customer days. He's done a lot of great work, as Brian said, in the public sector. He now works as a senior person in Infinity, and he can talk about that career move as well. But I think I've had a glimpse of what he's going to be showing us, and it looks awesome. It fits in well to the COVID world and crime and everything else that people often think about, and it's just a great story in terms of what you can do with data and the whole story about data and visualizations. So yeah, so
so we'll let you grab the ball, Sean. If you're good, then.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you for the introduction. And so they always say, don't they, never work with children or animals. So I'm just going to try something a bit different, okay, just for 5 seconds, and we're going to see if it's going to work. And there is a point to this, by the way. Everything I do actually does have a point to it. So, it's all about creating data-driven cultures, and this is going to be the point at the end, so wait for it. Got any volunteers on the line? Anyone wants to put their head above the parapet and unmute themselves and be part of this for 2 seconds? Everyone's going, oh no, it could be me.
I'm sure we must have someone. I'm not going to volunteer
someone.
myself.
I can see lots of names there. Anyone wants to pop on?
I might just have to unmute someone at random, Andrew.
Angelica's a volunteer.
Oh, Angelica. Okay, yeah. Angelica, yeah. Hello, Angelica.
You're not.
She's not.
We're still seeing Patrick.
So I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry.
There you go. Hello, Angelica. Yeah. How you doing?
Hi, my friend. I'm good, and you?
Yeah. Great. Right. I've just got a couple of things for you here. What I'm going to ask you to do, you're going to train the dog, okay? #Datadog in about 5 seconds. What do you want him to do? Don't make it too complicated.
Okay.
Go on, give him a task.
Hey, give Sean a kiss, Zach.
Oh, that's not right. That's so wrong. I didn't really kiss him, by the way, just health and safety reasons. Okay, that's something else. So another task.
Another task. Go fetch your bone.
Right. Okay. Stand up. Right, sit. We'll get him to do a bit of speaking. Actually, speak. Louder. Speak. Ooh, do you hear that growl then? He's getting a bit bored. You see. Number 1, paw. Good boy. High five. High five. Good boy. And I'd get him to do turning around, jumping up, all sorts of different things. But because he's sitting on the chair, it's just not going to be possible to do. Okay. So, right, the point of this, okay, is it's all about engagement. Okay. So when you're talking about data-driven cultures, it's all about how do you interact, engage with your organization that you're in or working with. Okay. So it's one of the kind of key takeaways, I guess, around data-driven cultures. You've got to create something exciting and interesting and a bit of wow in the organization, really. It's just so important to engage all the individuals from your C-level all the way through down to your frontline people, okay? And data analytics is so exciting. It's so game-changing. You know, when I was working in Avon and Somerset Police, which is the basis of the case study today that we're going to be talking about, I got out of bed every day thinking that analytics is going to shift, change, disrupt traditional ways of working, traditional processes. It's going to help people in the organization. It's going to help the public that we served. It's even going to reduce harm and save lives in the communities that we serve. And when you're connecting business and technology, bringing people and technology together, sort of magic happens. And, you know, I'd jump out of bed thinking, I know we can change the world today. Every day it's like that. And listening to Brian ask the question around visibility, around Patric and the ideology, great stuff. And, you know, what we had was very much an ethos, was making all our data in our organization very transparent and very visible, internally and also externally. And that's so powerful for confidence. And the data literacy thing, it's about having confidence in seeing, understanding data, as well as the abilities to use, read, write, and what have you. So it was lovely to see some of that from Patric today around making that whole process very visible. So thank you for that. And a good question from Brian, I think. So what I want to do today is to talk about Avon and Somerset Police and how they really sort of transformed their ways of working to become a modern sort of Amazon of policing in a way, how they use data and information and predictive analytics, which is part of that as well. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and Andrew and Brian, if this doesn't work, okay, I'd like you to let me know as soon as possible. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, all good.
Perfect, perfect. So we're going to go through, might look a bit like a Qlik console thing, development there, all the lines, but what we're going to do, we're going to run through and talk about that story. So I was at Avon and Somerset Police for 20 years, okay, managing both operational and non-operational business, digital, predictive analytics, enterprise rollout for Qlik as well, 3,500 users, which was, you know, at that point in time, a significant user base to adopt, you know, adoption of analytics was key there. I moved into Qlik and joined them as their industry director for public sector and healthcare. And now I've moved into Infinity as their VP for industry solutions. And, you know, really, for me, one of my prime objectives of joining from Infinity was how exciting their products are around right back at the moment. So it's kind of like a bit like the year of the right back. If people are looking and seeing what's going on, it really is kind of a huge differentiator where you take analytics, insights, we've seen lots of dashboards, but taking that and moving it to action, okay? Being able to add content into Qlik easily, creating sort of workflows, approvals, you know, adding your sort of documents and pictures even, eliminating sort of spreadsheets and shortening processes and collaborating across organizations. So that, as a industry person, that was hugely exciting to think, well, what possibly can we do with that technology with all the business? So all the experience of working, running, and in a complex, big, risk-laden organisation like the police, I was thinking, how can we possibly make this technology into something really special and deliver massive value to the customer? So that's what I'm doing, amongst other things, but that's a key mission for me, is connecting technology to business and people. And that's what it's about, isn't it? If you don't do that, it goes nowhere, okay? It doesn't get adopted. So what I'm going to talk through to you guys today is that story of Avon and Somerset Police. And it really is, it's a huge, the juggernaut, as Brian labelled me. I'm still not sure quite to think about that, but I've got it at the moment anyway. And it really was a juggernaut of a machine that ploughed through myth, it ploughed through culture, and it really enabled the organisation to do things differently, to cope with actually what's been an incredibly difficult time for public sector, healthcare and policing. You see it now with all the COVID stuff, but there's been years of real difficulties with our frontline colleagues and people running the organisations. So a little bit of background really about Avon and Somerset Police. You can see it there in the red on your screen in the bottom. Lovely part of the world. It's a real mixture of big urban areas like Bristol, multicultural, through to holiday hotspots, Weston-super-Mare. I'm sure everyone's been and probably booked to go there on their staycation this year. See everyone nodding in the UK or Scotland. Andrew's thinking, I'll never go in there. I live in beautiful Scotland. I'm not touching that part of the world, I'm sure. But actually, it produces quite a lot of challenge. It's a big area, 1.65 million people, okay? Around about 6,000 staff or so, 140,000 crimes per year, 150 domestic abuse incidents, you know, every week, okay? Murders, terrorism threats, and you know, there really is quite a complex environment to police. And you know, thinking about this, data rich. We've got millions of bits of information, swirling around in command and control systems, your crime systems, your intelligence systems. And how do people make sense of, say, 150,000 people, potential perpetrators connected in the system? It's really, really hard to do. And traditionally, the culture was canned spreadsheets, okay? It was information looking backwards and not forwards. So, you know, there really was an opportunity to shift and change that culture. What sort of challenges? What was the burning platform? Well, you know, rising costs, austerity, you know, 50, 60 million, 70 million pounds was being taken out of the budget for policing. That's, you know, 600 fewer police officers to keep you safe on the streets. Okay? That's a significant reduction in resourcing. And at the same time as the austerity and all the cuts, of course, what was happening was demand was going up. It was increasing, yeah? And especially complex demand. So you'd have a lot of serious sexual offences occurring. Well, actually, a lot of that was reporting and confidence to report. That complex demand took a lot of investigation time. It sucked up a lot more resources, and we really needed to shine a light on our capacity, capability, and productivity of the organisation. 2 secs. The dog he needs to get down off the chair. And he's making a bit of noise, so just hold on a minute. So we're all human, so just wait there a sec. I'm never working with Data Dog again. He's not my good book anymore. So, you know, so we really needed to understand our people, our processes and our systems to be able to manage that challenging environment that we were seeing from budget cuts and demand. Staff well-being and retention. Looking at those investigators that were investigating some of those most horrible crimes in society, child crime, you know, child protection crimes. That's a real stress and a real burden on people. Have I missed anything? You know, when I go to bed every night. Yeah, this is a familiar story whether you work in healthcare, whether you work in the councils, whether you work in policing, you know, whether you work in fire. The list goes on. You know, how do people sleep at night? People worried. You know, there's a lot of fear, and you know that puts a lot of stress on those frontline workers. And that well-being retention is so important to think about and do something about in your organisation. Transparency and scrutiny. Not a day goes by. Not a day goes by without the press, the media, the inspectorates. You see it all the time. Policing's in the news all the time, constantly. And that's pressure. It's constant pressure, organisational and individual pressure. Okay? Collaboration. How do we work collectively across the police service? Digitalisation, data security, all of those things. How those things come together in a rapidly changing world. And of course, what we thought was, with all that adversity brings an opportunity. Yeah, it brings an opportunity and to do things like we've never done before. Okay, and at the heart of our transformation, really was the data. So data played a key role in this. So to sustain your business, to improve your business, okay, a certain way of thinking was required. And the first thing in that data-driven journey, okay, this is a key takeaway. You ask yourself the questions, okay, when you get back to your organizations. Is data probably one of the most important things that you have in your organization? Is it a strategic imperative? Is it treated like something fantastic and special? Okay, do you want to nurture it, develop it, and look after it? Does it create excitement? Do people knock at your door constantly to try and find out more around how it can help you in the world? Okay, how can it change your business? How can it be pointed at every single bit of your organization? And yeah, we did that at Avon and Somerset Police. We shifted the mindset around data and shifted the mindset about what you could do with data. We weren't afraid to innovate and create a culture of innovation. Yeah, no idea was stopped. Every idea, folks, every idea was developed and pushed forward. And what it led to was scenes here. You've got the Chief Constable, you've got the Crime Commissioner in the middle, you've got the Policing Minister there. You know, that revolution, that transformation was so strong, it invited some of the highest level government figures to come down and see. And in the background, there's a tweet there. In the background, you can see a near real-time live command center running incidents, demand, resources, capabilities, some predictive analytics in that dashboard as well, actually. How many resources do we need to make that demand at any given time, at any point in the day? Where do we move resources from A to B? And, you know, you're talking traditionally, no one really knew. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But no one really knew the whole umbrella picture of demand, capability, capacity, delivery, outcomes. Yeah. So that was your main takeaway on this point here, is around the value of how you view it in the organization. You've got to give it the uttermost power and excitement and a strategic imperative. Yeah. Drive it through the organization from the top. And what does it look like? So when you say, well, yeah, you know, we're data driven, prove it. Okay, start measuring who's using those analytics in your organization, who's using them really well, who isn't using them much. Where can we join up that learning about who's using it, who isn't using it, and start pushing that data literacy across the organization? And here you can see, you know, we've got 3,500 named users, at this point in time, by the way, 500 users per day. It's now up to about 700 users per day. Okay, get the concept of here, 3,500 named users, 700 users per day of analytics in policing. Yeah, 60 to 80%, depending on, you know, on the levels of proficiency and you know, within the team itself. But you know, we're talking traditional cops that rely a lot on, you know, traditional ways of working, professional judgment. You know, they're using daily this type of information to do their business. Yeah, it's revolutionary. You know, they've got it on their mobiles, big screens, touch screens, command screen. It's all over the place. And this, when you know, if everyone gets a chance to ever go and see them, you know, they're very open to people going and have a look at this sort of stuff as well. Go and have a look, because you know, this is what you call true democratization, industrialization of analytics in an organization. It's not talking about it, this is actually doing it. So, but it doesn't happen by chance. So what sort of kind of strategic approach did we take, or did I take, and set the scene for underneath that? So scratch beneath all the results, that, you know, results driven obviously, but scratch beneath that, where does it all fit in? So what I started to do really was started to map the strategic plan. You see these boxes are numbered. Yeah, so you've got number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the list goes on. Okay, it was mapping your organization, mapping the analytics, mapping that to your operating model, mapping it to the layers in your organization. Okay, the strategic plan, understanding your organization's demand, your capability, capacity, putting the command center in, processes, people, process systems, operational delivery, and through to the individual and teams. Yeah, thinking about actually balance performance. What does that really mean? It's not just about the numbers, folks. It's about priority, quality, and quantity. That's what performance is. Yeah, that blend. Yeah, using analytics to understand that blend of performance, your enabling services, HR, finance, and your leadership. And leadership, by the way, is, I think, the most important thing. It's getting your leadership team on board to deliver revolutionary, absolute inspirational style transformation around analytics in the organization. Without that top leadership, it becomes extremely hard. Okay, so what we started to do is map and enable the organization through, you know, a little bit of sort of mapping underneath the wow, I guess. What also was a key feature was this is really business-led. Okay, it's about exploiting that technology. Now here I've used a different example. It's Jenny Woods. You can see it in the screen there. Oops, go back one. Got too far. Jenny Woods, and she has deployed Rob O'Neill from Morecambe Bay's actually command centre. And Jenny is a fantastic individual, fantastic team up in Tayside. We'll use a nice example. You'll be pleased for the Scottish Meetup here. And what do you spot about that? What do you spot about that picture? You see a lot of operational people. You know, they're in there. They're designing apps for them. Okay, they're part of that process. They're integral to that process, and it's incredibly collaborative. Analytics is very collaborative in the way you do it. And I always would say, from Avon Somerset, apps designed by cops for cops. Yeah, we bring our BI teams, we bring our technology teams and our business together. Okay, we'd be, you know, hand in glove, and we'd be pushing it. And I would get a lot of business leads in front of our chief officers, say, look what we've developed. Yeah, look what the business is pushing forward, how it's utilizing technology. And, you know, just a bit of a call to action really is around that collaborative leader. All right, this is about culture of innovation and development of ideas with the business, and we need more people like that. Yeah, anyone who's connected to technology, if you don't understand how your daily tasking process works or how the business works, go out and find out. Yeah, start working with them. As soon as you start talking to people and say, how do I make your job easier? Yeah, that's my first question I'd probably ask is, how can I make your job easier out there on the front? How can I save you time using analytics? How can I reduce your worry around risk? How can I join all the dots for you to help do your job better? So, you know, simple ways of engaging, telling stories about how other people are using that technology. And, you know, very, very much, you know, this is about storytelling, it's about inspiring, and about getting people to really think differently. So, and onto a very powerful story that's extremely close to my heart. Avon Somerset Police we embarked on a predictive analytics program. Okay, and the problem with traditional ways of policing is we've got, you know, 150,000 or more people connected in the system. Got all these incidents flying in, day out. You've only got so many cops and analysts. You cannot assess and make a judgment on everyone in your system. Yeah, impossible. Yeah, and traditional ways of working was very much, let's go in, we'll see what we see, or we'll see what or hear what other people tell us, and then we start working on that. So we very much thought, actually, what we need to be doing is using a very auditable, evidence-based way of understanding risk in the organization. And predictive analytics, machine learning, is a perfect way. There's some great tools out there at the moment. If you're not using them, I suggest you go and have a look at them. Data Robots, fantastic. Ultra, it's all these other tools. You can integrate it directly into Qlik. I'm sure some people are. Some people use it or do use it or going to use it on the call today. Now, this is a story where I woke up in the morning, bounded out of bed on my mission to change the world. And in the morning, I faced an incident report where we had the murder of Kamil Ahmad in the blue T-shirt there by the schizophrenic Jeffrey Barry on the screen there you see too. Okay, and it was a really very, very disturbing, horrific murder where Kamil Ahmad, a refugee, was viciously stabbed He had his eyes gouged out, and sorry to be very brutal about this, but this is real life, guys, okay? And had his genitals cut off, okay? Horrible, you know, sort of thing you dread to read, and it's heartbreaking to read these things when you come to work in policing and other emergency services. What was hugely powerful about that story was in the background, we had an offender app that was in testing. So let's make this very clear, it was not operational, in testing, churning away, risk scoring every single person in our system. And when I looked at that as part of the serious case review process, we found that Mr. Barry was at the top of our high risk for that given policing area. Not only high risk, but escalating in risk. So using these techniques to understand changes in risk. That's where the money is, guys. And I say money, that's where the true change in your business comes. When you see things, risk moving and changing, that's where you need to understand why and start doing some action, okay? So, and absolutely, we learned that traditional ways were just not providing the best service to the public, okay? People just could not manage that blizzard of information. Lack of joining the dots, risk was invisible, okay? Governance was lacking, and it was very reactive. Policing was reactive. And that predictive app, you can see a screenshot there that we built. You can see we've got, you know, a number of people, vulnerable people here. You've got, yeah, breaking it down into baskets of high, medium, and low, escalating of risk, looking at risk over time. All of these things, yeah, really important at a big organizational level to understand the success of your operation. But where the magic really comes in is a tool that your frontline practitioners, so the cop on the street, can use. So they'll go in, have a look at their policing patch. Yeah, I look after an area of, you know, certain town of, you know, of Bristol. Who are my high risk offenders? Okay, what's their risk, current high risk for those people? And then the visualizations, using a lot of the stuff that Patrick and the team, you know, creates day in, day out. Very much to bring the context into that risk scoring process. We used to do predictive analytics, folks, without visualization. It never landed, okay? Just risk scores, it never did the trick. As soon as you start bringing in the richness of context, visual context around the why that risk score is high, it suddenly becomes adopted, and it suddenly becomes so much more powerful. So what we did was then mainstream that kind of approach in the organization. Now that app is being used today, built into daily tasking. So they're using that analytics in the working practices of the organization. Now, it's not separate, it's built into the way people operate. And that's the important bit, again, that people should take away. You need to think of analytics, the rhythm and pace of an organization. You need to build that into the way that you do your business. Don't do it separately. And what sort of benefits did we see? And it's always important, and this was some time ago, and I know from speaking to them recently at Avon in Somerset, and speaking to the chief, who's probably aware that I do something called Pushing the Boundaries. This is not actually a plug, but we do Pushing the Boundaries. It's a pure industry chat. And I think it might be next week, we've got the Chief Constable of Avon and Somerset on Pushing the Boundaries. And he's talking about his data journey. And he was saying that, you know, I left some 2 years ago from Avon and Somerset or so, maybe a bit more than that now, probably is. And he said, you know, thanks for your efforts, Sean, but we've really moved it on and developed it further. And it was, and I said, look, Andy, that's brilliant. You know, it's superb that that's maintained and it's continued to get better and better. And some of those benefits, if you were in a commercial world and said, you know, 67% of your people are better informed, making better decisions, being more effective over half, each person saving 3 hours a week. You know, cops, traditional cops, 3 hours, that's half a day a week. You know, it's easy just to sort of white noise and hear these things, but it's really significant things. Training was the key issue. It's not that Qlik's difficult to use, as you know. but we're talking about varied levels of ability within people. And what we also did was put some digispocs into place. So grabbing your experts that are using the software a lot, and then having a network and having them floor walking in a way and supporting people using the analytics. There's lots of things you can do to really drive that engagement through it. So that was quite special. And the bigger, let's move up to the big umbrella picture. And I say big umbrella pictures, I look out the window now and it's absolutely tipping down. So we do need a big umbrella, thunder and lightning as well. So if I do get struck or things get cut, I do apologise. Maybe it's the first one on your meeting that someone actually gets struck by lightning, but hopefully not. So the bigger picture here was that we didn't keep a lot of our data internally. We wanted to be, because policing is all about the confidence in your community. If you haven't got confidence, and you're seeing this at the moment, aren't you, playing out in a lot of the American story and the British story as well, actually, in lots of places. You need to be open and transparent. And I would always, and still happens now, invite our inspectorates in. I would invite the media in. Come and have a look. Yeah, come and see what it's really like. Come and see the issues. Come and see what people are doing. And when an inspectorate would come in, like the HMIC FRS, which is the Inspectorate for Police and Fire in the UK, I would say, look, here we go. Here's every single bit. I could pretty much answer every single bit about the organisation within 30 seconds to a minute. Why? Because we've had the data in every single bit all come together, these fantastic acts in our organisation. And what that did was create a confidence in, we understood our business, we understood what to do about our business, and that led to then a blueprint around how some of policing operated and would. And there's loads of good examples. People are going off doing some fantastic stuff all over the place in policing. It's not just Avon and Somerset, but I think what you're looking to do is to get not your own internal perspective on what success looks like, but external. So again, more recently, Avon and Somerset have had a partner from the environment come in and say, right, stress test my environment. What we're doing with our Qlik installation and how we operate and the safety, security, all these other things. Come in and batter us, tell us, give us your worst, and I think that's really important to drive the legitimacy of your process and what you do. So important to drive efficiency, effectiveness through analytics. A lot of public sector organisations wouldn't necessarily think that it's a real public confidence opportunity, and it is. And I think think wider, think outside of the traditional boundaries about when you do these things. I'd often go out to public meetings, and I would show people where our officers have been. So we'd snail trail, grid and snail trail the amount of time that officers would spend in certain areas of town and places. No one would believe that we'd been doing stuff. You could tell them and say, yeah, we've been doing this, this and this, but no one would believe it. But until we showed them in the applications, bring it up live, no one would believe how few police officers we really had patrolling until you showed them. We had 8 or 9 or 10 police officers for sometimes potentially 200-300 incidents on the screen to be deployed to. Yeah, that's the reality. No one believes it until you see it. So again, go out there and use that analytics in the widest sense to get the best return on the investment possible. And on the last point really is that this is just about the cultural side. I keep talking about it all the way through really, that organisations need to really foster innovation. Too many times do I see people say, no, not doing it, no, can't do it, don't do it. I would have a very simple message for my teams that are developing the analytics. I would say that go and create some wow in the organisation. And if you're excited about it, come and tell me about it. If it doesn't work, don't worry about it. Yeah, go out and develop it with the business. Yeah, come and sing to the high heavens about what you've done. And I'll help you. I'll empower you. I'll invest in you. I'll get stuff done in the organisation. from that kind of champion and leadership role. I'll be the interface between, you know, the money and the execs and all the rest of it. So, but what you create is a culture of innovation that thrives, it builds, it develops. And coming back to the start really around the juggernaut, is that it's an energy in an organization. The analytics is an energy, an unstoppable energy, if you get some of that blueprint right. You know, you get all the pieces of the jigsaw together. It's not one thing, it's a combination of things. So, kind of like ended where I started with Brian's juggernaut thing. And I can see him smiling there. I can see you smiling there, Brian. So I'm going to hand it back to, I guess, to Brian and Andrew around any questions and any thoughts, reflections, really, for any discussion. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sean. Great story. It's obviously inspirational for people who work with Qlik and data to actually hear a real life story like that. Yeah.
Saving lives. It's saving lives.
Few questions on as well. Francesco's. Can you see the panel, the chat?
Oh yes.
From Francesco,
okay.
they're probably the first one to address because he's not one of us. It's just,
which one are you
talking
about? Question one.
Yeah, how do you make people curious with numbers, and also the valid point after that about the collection of data, and how do you actually motivate people when it's just raw numbers? Yeah, sure. So very much what we focused on was actionable insight. So you could just say to a cop, well, here's your number of crimes on your patch. Very, very statistical focused, and you know, to the point of the question, really doesn't really engage or do anything useful necessarily for the operational person or the member of the constabulary analyst or what have you. So if you thought about producing for that cop intelligence gaps, oh, well, what do you mean? So if you thought about actually using some business rules with our BI in the crime system to identify where there's gaps in intelligence. Yeah, so, oh, there's a gap where we don't really know what phone they're using at the moment, or we don't know what car they're driving, or we don't know what the associates that they're, you know, liaising with or hanging around with outside in the community. And then we provide that gap, that information as a tasking opportunity. So then suddenly they say, oh, Sean Price, we don't know what car he's driving. Oh, by the way, when you're just passing by, you know, X address, could you just have a quick look in the drive, please? Because we've got a gap in our intelligence. So suddenly you're moving the game away from numbers into actionable intelligence, tasking, and then action. Yep. Of course, what we didn't know, and I'm going to say it, but what we didn't have is a feedback loop to say, well, what was really being done about this? With write back tools, and there's lots on the market, by the way. Write back tools. That enables you to say, well, what's happened? What have we done? And it closes that loop somewhat, and you can add evidence in directly. So, if I was doing it then, and now, then I'd be looking at, again, like all the features that Patrick, and I'll be utilising this technology a lot more, connecting solutions and technology better. But at the time, very much around actionable intelligence, and the example of the predictive app. A person, an analyst or a cop, might be spending 2, 3, 4 hours, 2 days building a profile of an individual, whereas with that application, you could get it like that. So it's game changing, yeah. So you think about how do you apply these things to other parts. I'm sure lots of you great guys and gals out there are doing this. It's exciting. Now, literally, I keep having it, but the hairs are going up my arms thinking about how the power of analytics can change what we do in the world. So, yeah, did you think that answers the question? Really, does that hit it on the head there?
I mean, I think it does. I mean, I want to contribute here as well, Sean, and I think that the power of a champion internally in an organisation is a very, very important thing. Many organisations, when you walk into, you're given a very dry remit of just do this, and it's It's our job, and I use our collectively as business intelligence professionals of all walks of life. It's our job to challenge those organisations and to stand up and say, you know what, that dry spreadsheet is not going to do anything for you if it's doing the same thing in Qlik. You need to do something that engages, and we want you to be part of that ideation process. And we're going back on this ideation and creativeness feedback again, but it's absolutely right. You have to embody the willing and the power in your teams and in your people to not be scared to put ideas forward. Because when people are scared to put ideas forward, they don't generate the things that they need to be able to do their job. And I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. I've seen in the chat there's been quite a few bits about data literacy as well. And it's just a dovetailing story that just all sits together perfectly when it goes right. And I'm not sure I can be quite as enthusiastic as you, because you're doing an amazing job, but it really lights a fire inside me when I hear someone like you talking about the real enrichment of an analytics organization that happens basically because of enthusiasm and because of giving people the power to be creative and generate ideas. I think it's a great and important process to go through.
Brian, absolutely spot on. It's a leadership thing. So, I mean, a couple of things from, a lot of people will say, I hear it, it's so difficult our leadership, so difficult to get our leaders on board. It's all so difficult. Then I took a very blazoned approach with, I'd ask for forgiveness afterwards rather than permission for a lot of these things. And I put myself out there personally. I would take a challenge, and but I would argue with data. So I wouldn't just sort of talk about it and get grumpy when someone says no. I would be behind the scenes, in a bit of a guerrilla approach in a way, building and developing things, then showing, and the jaws hit the floor, and then you get your buy-in. We had where using predictive analytics. This was going back probably some 4, 5, 6 years or more now. It was 50 grand a license for IBM's SPSS server technology at the time, or so. But we made such a compelling proof of concept, so compelling. That's another story for another day. But so compelling that the money was made available because we couldn't afford to not do it. And again, I think what you've got to do is, as BI experts or champions or leaders within the organisation, you've got to walk the talk, and you've got to actually demonstrate this stuff in the organisation. It's not a paper exercise. It's not a chat. This is real life. You've got to show people.
Yeah, and I think when you show the practicality of mapping that onto real life, and you mentioned a couple of our luminary colleagues there in terms of Rob O'Neill and Jenny Woods, and it's just so important to be able to apply that in a real life critical scenario, and that's something that some of us don't get to apply on a day-to-day basis, and that's why it's extra important to hear from the people that do, because for them it's not just a case of enthusiasm, it's a case of this has to be done to make things better in life. And I think that's sometimes a disconnection that gets made between doing a bit of work in banking, where the worst that can happen is someone loses some money, and doing work in public services where you're dealing with people's lives. So I think it's extremely important to have advocates like yourself that remind us of that.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of great people that want to, push some of those boundaries. Rob O'Neill, for example, in health, loads of people in healthcare and our other industries. But let's be honest, if you looked at the landscape of, the maturity of where people are within a lot of those organisations and our councils, our local councils, and some of our emergency services, we're really missing a trick still. And I think we need to shout it to the houses to show that some investment in analytics in a way kind of like that, I guess, really can pay huge dividends for the public, which is the first point, and their staff as well. It's a win-win really. But a lot of people don't understand that. Data literacy is at the heart of that. What can we do with our data? Where can we go? How far can we go with automation? All those kind of things, right?
Good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's right on the money there, Sean. And I can see there's some more comments coming in here, and we'll be happy to forward those on and facilitate those conversations afterwards. If any of you would like Sean's details, we'll be happy to sync you all up. That's no problem at all. We're kind of running a little bit low on time, Sean, but that was very enlightening, and it was tremendous to have you. So thank you for coming along and bringing the data dog as well.
Yeah. He's asleep now. He's asleep. Well done, guys.
Too much for him now.
Yeah, he needs to go a long walk now.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Well-being is so important, isn't it, in this world we're living at the moment? Get out there and push yourself to the limit on the old exercise front, walk the dog or whatever. I'm a firm believer of that. Yeah, as you probably know.
Great stuff.
Good stuff.
Thanks very much, Sean. Well, I mean, we've kind of dealt with the Q&A along the way there, and like I say, we'll facilitate anything that needs to come up afterwards as well. So thanks again, Sean. Great stuff.
No problem.
I really just wanted to wrap up. I'm aware that we're running a little bit over today, but I think it's been a valuable discussion, and the discussion points always are valuable in QVMS. So thanks for everyone for participating. At the moment, we're still running every 2 weeks. We do appreciate that things are starting to wind down a bit now with lockdown, and people are starting to return to the roles a little bit more often. But at the moment, we still do have 2-week cadences set up. We've still got lots of people that we can call on. And a bit of a milestone next time around, episode 10. Who would have thought we would have got to episode 10 in the space of 4 months? It's pretty incredible. So that's going to be on Friday the 11th of September. And I'll need to check my BST timings at that time. Hopefully it still is. If not, we will adjust accordingly. And if you like rundowns of top X things that happens in analytics, specifically to do with Qlik Sense, or you live and breathe data governance, you're going to be very interested in the next 2 guests for our show on the 11th of September, episode 10. Our first guest is Josh Good, who's the VP of Product Marketing at Qlik. And if you know Josh, even from this very youthful photograph of Josh that I managed to pull from LinkedIn, you will know that he's quite famous for his top 5 and top 10 rundowns of Qlik Sense and what's going on at Qlik. So I think he's going to touch on some September release stuff as well that Patrick may have just sort of touched on earlier. But we're delighted to have Josh, especially at the very early time of the day that he's going to have to appear to make an appearance on our episode. So we're looking forward to having Josh. From a data governance perspective, we're really pleased to welcome George Firkin from Lights On Data, who's going to talk about dark data and the hidden potential of that. I've known George for a while now through a network of people that I've met recently over lockdown, and he's got a massive amount of stuff on YouTube in terms of data governance, and we're really looking forward to exploring the topic of dark data. So it should be 2 really contrasting topics that, again, hopefully work really well together. And again, we really hope to see you on QVMS EP10, which will be 2 weeks from now. So I'm aware that we're running over. So just again, if you've got anything to say to us, please pop a note into our survey. We'd be happy to hear what you think of the episodes. But otherwise, it just remains for me to say, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you to our 2 incredible guests and the interaction from our audience. Again, fantastic. Andrew, any final kind of passing words before we leave?
No, just wanted to double the thanks for both Sean and Patrick. Obviously, both delivered the ask and beyond. So, yep, good seeing them both.
Thanks a lot for having us.
So, I think that's it for us, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. We really appreciate you being here and your continued support. You don't have to spend your Friday with us, but we appreciate it that you do. And hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you very much.
Well done, guys.
Thank you. I'll just stop recording, Brent.
Have you